broadcast is
everyone. So today I have one of my students with me, clients, whatever you want to call them, good friends. I like to call them Alex, who joined me several months ago. So I think it's always good to give you guys an intro into what actually goes on and hear from the people that are actually going through it. You know, it's I can say as much as I want about what we do for people, but I think it's always good to get feedback and understand the mindset, because I think a lot of stuff is mindset, and we're going to dig into that with Alex as well. But I know from my journey so far that a lot of my stuff has been, you know, mindset driven, and a lot of my mentorships that I am on and currently on, you know, is all around, you know, yes, you get strategies and you get help and you get that support when you need it, but it is also about a pat on the back and come on, we need to do this and we need to stay focused, and where to stay focused as well. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to get Alex to come on and we'll just have a chat. If you do have any questions around anything that we're talking about, please just bang them in the comments below and we'll get them answered for you. So yeah, Alex, first and foremost, thanks for joining me.
That's all right.
I know you're super busy, or you better be. So yeah, so let's go back to the start. So just tell everyone a bit about, you know, how long you've been trying to do this for, what your struggles were.
Yeah, certainly. So I started looking into property back in the beginning of 2019. I had a family food business previously, which was great fun, but a lot of hard work and not much money. Dad had done a bit of property previously and done really well with it, but didn't have the right, this will sound cheesy, but literally didn't have the right education. He'd bought quite a few package deals back in 2005, 2006. It all went really well, then all went really bad. So I knew that getting some decent education behind me was going to be key. And as I found in the property sort of world, it's, you know, they're really keen on that environment. Pre-COVID, we had lots of sort of networking meetings I was going to on like a weekly basis. I did lots of training with various people. And I kicked off my business with another training company, and that was at the beginning of 2020. I got my first deal in February 2020. I was all excited. I had a business partner who was going to put the money in, and sort of went around viewing loads of property, and I was pretty scattergun approach. I was just enjoying myself so much. I love talking to people, love seeing property. I love chatting about it. And yeah, I was just doing everything and everywhere and no particular structure to it. So I got a property live, literally got it listed and on Airbnb and booking.com a week before lockdown. At this point, I was like, I tried to ignore the news and the media. And at that point, I was like, okay, I better listen up. Actually, this all seems to be a bit of a, this wasn't part of the business plan. Let's put it that way.
This might be serious.
Exactly. So I was just like, right, crumbs, what can I do? You know, I got it on Airbnb. I think I was really, this is kind of this history repeats itself, I'll talk about in a bit, but I hadn't even got it on Airbnb at this point. I think I'd maybe done booking.com, but not Airbnb. I spent a whole morning literally ringing up care homes saying like, right, do you need like an isolation unit for some of your patients or something like that? It was an idea I think I had, or someone posted on Facebook, and I readjusted some of my advertising on Open Rent to self-isolation unit and stuff like that. And this is before the government sort of said, you know, you shouldn't really be doing that sort of thing and bits and bobs like that. But I just thought I'd rang up 9 or 10 care homes one morning. Everyone said no, not interested, and or intro discount, whatever. And the next day I had a Airbnb inquiry for 39 nights. Now, because I threw the Airbnb listing together, it was my first time, I didn't really pay much attention. I'd actually given like a double discount. But at that point in time, it was the perfect mistake to make, because the guest, they viewed the property. They had a situation where like grandma, mum and dad and the kids were all living in the same house. The dad and the kid both worked at Sainsbury's. They wanted to protect the grandparents. And they moved in a day before lockdown. They were with me for 2 months in the end. They literally paid cost rates. I wasn't making any money on it, but I was losing maybe like 100 quid a month on one property, which was all things considered not too bad. And so lockdown happened, restrictions were eased, and then come June, I went from May, where I was breaking even, to June, I was £1,000 in profit off one unit. Mm-hmm. And for sure, those were special, you know, circumstances. Hotels were shut. Managed to get someone in at £110 a night. But all of a sudden, I kind of was like a slap on the face, like, this business works. Even despite everything, it really does work. So I sort of pulled my socks up and got another 2 properties in July last year, got them live in August. And I was dabbling around with a bit of internet marketing training, a bit of this, a bit of that. And it was only sort of come October time, I kind of said, right, I've got to really focus on one thing and do it right. I had a bit of a glimpse of the progress I could make with property. And then October came and we were back into serious profit again. I think it was like £1,700 across 3 properties, which I was like, wow, this is really great. And the hotels are kind of open at this point, so it still works even with other competition. And I was struggling to get my 4th unit. And with the other training programs I've been on, they've been great. But for me, at that point, I've been through lots of different training. And I knew that something I really needed was just someone where I could just pick up the phone. And so now the way I think about it is I don't have problems in my business anymore. Ryan's got problems. My problem is now Ryan's problem. So I literally, and that's why I remember the intro webinar that you did. It wasn't flashy at all. This is more flashy than that was. But you know, there was no varnish to the slides or anything like that. It was all really basic. But the key thing was he systemized it. He had grown. What did you like double in size in last year or something crazy like that?
Yeah, I mean, our growth rate is it keeps growing as well. But yeah. I think, you know, that systems and processes for you. You know, exactly. That's all that is. You know,
and the fact you'd grown and you'd seen, you know, through some being able to be light on your feet and look at the market, and you'd actually expanded through 2020. And there were probably some touch and go moments like there were for everyone, but to actually keep expanding and building on that, I thought, okay, so he's built his business in 2020 like I have, but he's like 3 years ahead of me and still exponentially growing. I can give him a call anytime I need it, which is great. And I don't really like the way he talks to me personally. It's really hard and rough, but it gets the job done. It gets the results. And I thought that's what I'm paying for. And he's smiling now. He never does this normally. But but that's what I make. That's why I'm investing my time and my energy and my money into this, because if I get a problem, it's not my problem. I pass it on to Ryan. He gives me a solution. And if I need a kick up the arse, he gives that. If I need a bit of inspiration and motivational talk, he gives that as well. So
yeah, I think that's important, you know. And if let's just wind back to the decision, okay? So, and you know, obviously you chose to work with me, but you could have chose to work with everyone else. And I don't want you to. This isn't a decision to big me up. This is what made you realize that you needed that consultant in your business.
For me, it's a case of I can buy all the programs in the world that have got, you know, Kajabi videos and forms and stuff like that, but I know I'm just rubbish at actually going through them. Another mentor I've got specifically for outsourcing, he's had to coach me for every week for the last 2 months just to get me to do the actual damn study. And I'm glad I've done that. But I know it's the mentoring, it's the interaction with someone that gets me to do something. If I've just got a course sat on a shelf, unless it's biting my head off, unless it's painful, then I don't do anything with it. And the fact for me, the key decision was, I know that I work better with people and having a mentor, and that mentor had to be specifically tick the boxes that I needed ticking. Because I've had mentors in the past who said, yeah, I've got a mentoring program, I'll support you, I'll help you. And then it took me 3 attempts to try and get a phone call with them. And sometimes I didn't get a phone call at all. And I was just like, well, this business in property has got loads of red tape. It's so intricate, and serviced accommodation again is even more intricate. I think it's probably the most intricate property strategy there is. I just wanted someone that like I said, when I've got a problem, it's no longer my problem, it's yours. And just having that person to hand off to and know that whatever struggles I've got, you've got that times by 10. So you've probably got a few solutions up your sleeve. And for me, that was the gold dust, really. And also, I thought, I can kind of spread around a bit and try this strategy and that strategy. But you said that yourself that you're really focused on service accommodation. You do a bit of HMO stuff and a bit of development, but service accommodation is your bread and butter. So I thought, if I'm going to get good at this and expand this, I need to be around the people who are really expert in this field, not who can just give you a bit of everything.
Yeah. And I think it is, you know, just talking about that around people, you know, it's funny you mentioned Kajabi there. Do you know something like 95% of Kajabi clients never complete their course?
I'm sure.
So, and I say this all the time, that like knowledge is like, I thought it was about 10-20%, but a few other sort of coaches and people that I knock about with, they actually reckon it's about 1 or 2% of what you need to be successful. And that's probably changing my thinking a bit to think, do you know what, you're probably right, because knowledge only gets you so far, as you say, and most people don't do courses. But coming back to networking, because I obviously you're involved in my network now, and we'll touch base on that in a second. But for me, the old sort of school pin type networking in a room, all that sort of stuff, I just never got any value from that. And I think it's kind of touted as a thing you've got to do when you get into property, in my eyes. But spending half an hour driving there or getting there on the tubes or whatever it might be, sitting in your room, getting a phone number off somebody that you're probably never going to speak to, and I think unless you're committed to those events where you go every single week or however often they are, and you get involved, you become almost like a go-to person in that room for a certain topic, whatever. I think they work, but it's a bit like Clubhouse at the minute. I think if you're on stage speaking as a moderator, I think you can get a lot more out of it than if you are just in the audience. I think if you're in the audience, yes, there's a load of golden nuggets get dropped, and I do think it has its value, but not to the extent where you should be spending hours and hours and hours on it. Because I think you can, as we'll come on to as well, like time for me is very important, and you're starting to realize that now. So has your perception of how you can network in sort of the group scenario that we've got versus going to those pin meetings, how has that changed for you, or is that something that you're still going to do when that opens back up again? Or are you going to focus your time elsewhere because now you realize that your time's better served in other places?
Great question. So I'm a big fan of networking. I'm a real people person, and I joined my local PIN meeting, and I've become one of the helpers. And so, by being one of the helpers, I've become a person who of some influence at that level. And I've actually had several meetings with people from PIN actually to do business with them. So for me, it's worked. But I think it's like anything, you've got to give it time. You can't jump in there and expect to get insane results. I mean, I've had a couple of networking events I've been to in the past and training events where there was speed networking, but it was a paid environment. So everyone had paid a lot of money to be in the room, and speed networking was insane. And I've got like a list of investors now. If I need to raise 100K or a couple of million, I know exactly who to call. And we've already built that relationship in a very short space of time. But within that environment, I put myself out there. I put myself on stage. I answered the questions, asked the questions. And so people sort of go, oh, this guy, Alex, I knew very little, but the little I did know, I made sure I sort of spread that. And as you know, in the groups, it's always you and me sort of fighting for the stage, because I always try and get that message out there that I'm there to help people as much as I can. I'm there to learn as much as possible. I think that's something I'd recommend to everyone is, and I said this to my sister jokingly, who wants to get into property, when we went to a Simon Zucci event last January. I was like, this is Simon's event, but I'm going to make it my event. And I was heckling Simon from the back of the room all day long. And I had a queue of people at the break time going, oh, Alex, you're a deal sourcer. Find me some deals. I never said I was a deal sourcer, but people just suddenly assumed that I was doing all this stuff. And so I've had this list of contacts who've literally come to me just by making a noise and talking in a certain way. So when it comes to networking, I'll just look for more environments where I can do that. Now, when it's a free event, you get lots of people who are sort of looking for the get rich quick, or who are not really tire kickers, as you say. But there are some golden nuggets in there, and I've had people also come up to me at events quite quietly and just go, Alex, I've actually got a bit of money. Can we? Later on, so.
And I think, and this is we've got a question up here which we'll answer in a second, and then this will probably lead nicely into that. But free events versus investing in yourself. What do you think the impact levels on a scale of 1 to 10, a free event versus investing in yourself?
I mean, the paid events is so much more potent. I mean, investing in yourself, whether it be the training or a networking event, when you put a price on something, it brings a different caliber of person. And when it comes to investing in yourself, it's, if you go to free events, you get free results, which is not much. If you go to a paid event, you get the paid results. I think that speaks for itself, really.
And when did you make that decision that free events weren't working for you and you need to start paying your way to get ahead?
It's a case of, can I dabble around, and it's kind of YouTube versus one-on-one mentoring. That's the way I look at it. I can look at YouTube for hours a day, and then maybe I'll stumble across the golden nugget, or maybe I won't. Whereas if I go to a mentor, if I just get someone who's done it, and that's what I wanted to do. I just like trying to bin off this idea of, I think someone said, at school you're punished for copying, in business you're rewarded for it. So it's just a case of, just do that. Don't people try and make it more complicated than it is, and it's really not. And I said this to my sister who's trying to look at some HMO stuff, and I was just like, we've met a guy in just down the road from us. During COVID, he purchased a property, took a 3-bed semi-detached, turned it into a 6-bed HMO, and he filled it in 4 weeks. And my sister goes, I'm not looking at Burnham, I'm going to look at Slough. And I'm just like, why are you doing that? This guy we know, who actually knew through PIN, actually went and viewed his property the other day. I was like, he's done it successfully. He's got tenants. It's cash flowing. You've got this golden nugget here. Don't try and make it more complicated. Just like ask him, he's happy to share his information with you. Just sort of get on the phone to him every day and just be like, how do you do this? Is this okay? What do you think of this? What are your thoughts? And don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. I think hopefully when you come into my world, you do realize that things are quite simple, and we do keep things very simple, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends of mine, another investor actually. I'm going to be buying. Hopefully, we've just offered on some land, which is quite exciting. And I've sort of found the deal, and I've put, he's got some cash to invest. And he goes, "Oh, I love this co-living idea." And he's been on all these fancy courses where they say, you're going to get a property. It's going to be this space and that shape and this color of wallpaper and this. Oh, it's just a HMO, mate. You can paint it as much as you want and decorate it, whatever, but it's just a HMO at the end of the day. There are ways of making it a bit more snazzy, but I'd say that's kind of like, if you buy in the right area and if you make it look good, that's 90% of the job done. Whether you've got a TV here and a bit there, it's like, the majority of your profit is going to come from just buying it in the right area to begin with. And
let me ask you an important service accommodation question.
Go for it.
Based on what you've just said there. So do you now realize you don't need to have fancy service accommodation units from the first one to where you are now in the setups?
100%, yeah. I mean, when I'd sort of gone to other training courses where there were specialists in the room and serviced accommodation, but they were trying to teach a whole range of different strategies. And it was a case of, well, here's how you do this. You can outsource everything. And I think with any business, if you just try and outsource everything from the very beginning, you're probably not going to have a proper understanding of how the business works. So my goal was always to understand all the different parts and then outsource. So one thing I did was, I was told about this package furniture company where it's like $5,000 for a furniture pack for a 2-bedroom flat, which I've realized now is way too expensive. And now it's just, I always try and get things down to simple sayings and phrases. And one of them is, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. And so the quality of your business is determined by the quality of questions you ask around it. And I had a chat with you, Ryan, the other day, for how can I get reduced furniture pricing? And you said Facebook Marketplace, So I'm now setting up a little WhatsApp group with me and my business partner and his wife and my girlfriend to go and search on Facebook Marketplace. But I've also networked with my old boss, actually, who I left my job with him to go into property, and he's come with me into property now. We're hopefully going to do some deals together over in Windsor. He's found this guy who does hotel clearances. So we've got a couple of grand's worth of furniture we can pick up for 400 or 500 quid. And it's just like, if you hadn't said to me, Alex, you're spending too much on, I said, how can I, because I want to scale to 100 properties this year, but I can't do that spending 5K with every property because that's like £500,000 worth of furniture. So what can I do around it? You said, well, cut your furniture prices down. And it's so obvious when you say it, but I just didn't think of that. And I think but I know this structure works. Well, really, it's just the nice looking cushions. It's the scatter cushions which do most of the job. Whether a bed is a bed, and you can just refabricate it quite easily with some sheet and a staple gun.
I think for me, clarity is probably the best word to use. In that, whenever I get stuck, I know what I'm trying to achieve. I probably know how to achieve it, but I just can't seem to unlock my own mind to kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's why
teach it to someone else quite easily. But
yeah, so that's why I go to my consultants, and I'm basically like, right, I've got this, I want to achieve this, and they'll just ask me probably 1 or 2 questions, and I'm like, right, bang, clear, right, let's go and take some action. And for me, that is, a lot of people are amazed at like how quickly I have grown, but it's because I invested in myself from day one. I've got the help and the consultants around me. I like to call them consultants rather than mentors and coaches, might be, because I do think they consult for your business. And as you said, like, pick someone who is where you want to go, and then just ask them the right questions all the time and just copy what they're doing. And that's exactly the same. And that's what I've done time and time and time again over every single consultant I've had, whether it's been in marketing, sales, personal development, whatever it might be. And, you know, and it gets you clear. Someone that gets you clear on your next best action is someone that will create great results for you. If you're going to them and they're not getting you clear on your next best action, you need to continue to ask good questions until you do get clear, because they will have the answers if they are experienced. You know, you talking here, I quite like it how you've decided you no longer have problems and they're now my problems. But you're right there, but the good thing is, like, I don't see them as problems. You come and ask me a question, I give you an answer based on my experience. And because I've already unlocked that, you can then go and unlock that for yourself. And then you put it in your own different way for your business that works for you and your setup, but ultimately it gets the same result, you know? So, so let's touch base on it. We've got a couple of questions here. So I don't know if you can see them, but what have you got from working with me that you didn't have before? And what has been the tangible result?
So for me, it was the confidence in the market. Ryan was someone who's gone from, how many properties did you have pre-COVID? Like 50 or 60?
Yeah, be somewhere around that, I would imagine.
50. And what are you at now? Like 150?
Probably not far off that now, yeah.
Cool. He doesn't like to give the numbers. I don't know why. Or maybe he's lost count.
I honestly, the thing is that they're on and off all the time, and we have all sorts of wonderful ways that we're buying them, and this and managing and this, and you know, and we just I honestly, as you know, I've got them passed into the team now. You know, I have you know, behind the scenes, I've got Tanesha, who does all my management acquisitions. I've got my brother and Charlie, who are doing deal sourcing acquisitions for me. I've got my partner in Dubai, who's doing my Dubai acquisitions for me. So like we've also taken on 2 sales staff in Dubai this week who are going to be doing basically what Tanesha does in the UK. So they're out there. Their job is just constantly agreeing contracts with people, you know, and then once they're agreed, they go into the onboarding team, which is Joanne, Kay, and Gemma, and Faye with the marketing side of things, and they then set them all up. So like, whilst I have an insight into what's happening, unless I'm checking in every hour asking, or every day asking, you know, I let them get on with it. And, you know, and then I just, you know, it's more than likely I speak with the accountant when I see, you know, and she then has it all. And then I start seeing the list of stuff. The investor statements at the end of the month is typically when I kind of start seeing how many we've got, because, you know, I have a look at them. But I can be on it as much as I want, or as little as I want. But I have trust in that they're doing the right job. We're bringing on the right properties. We're appealing to the right people. And there's no need for me to be sort of micromanaging them. So, you know, I used to know, like, I've got 21 properties, or I've got 33 properties. I did used to know it. Now I just, I look at numbers, and I spot problems. So, for example, just before this, I had a call with Joanne, and we were just looking at pricing, and we look at our channel manager and just kind of what customizations we can put in for the properties that aren't moving as quick as we would like, or we maybe haven't got much forward bookings. So what can we do? Do we need to panic now, or is it a case of the market still isn't forward booking that often? You know, so I more have training conversations with them, a bit like Tanesha yesterday jumped on a call, and we discussed how we can maybe use Facebook a bit better to try and get some more managed contracts on board. You know, so I more do very much a leadership and training role now. And then once they're onboarded and set up, that's got nothing to do with me now, you know, absolutely nothing to do with me. So, and that is how I think that's how you scale, because you're giving them full autonomy to do that. Now, when it comes down to purchases, now all the numbers do need to be run by me just to sign it off and say, yep, we can offer that, or we can do that to an extent. And also, yes, we can fund that based on, you know, what's happening in the business. So that's a bit of a different scenario, but the managed stuff and the rent-to-rent stuff is pretty much carte blanche, and I trust what they're doing, and they can go out there and just agree the deals, and that's what they do. So, but I think once you start getting past certainly 30 properties or so, you're almost like, you should, at that point, you should have help in place. You know, you should be leveraging a lot of these operational tasks out, and really you then step into kind of this CEO role where you're just leading your team. Even now on the accounts, I don't really look at like individual property performances as much as I used to. I now have everything like in classes. So I'll have like my own service accommodation units, my rented service accommodation units, my managed service accommodation units. Obviously, we've got like the cleaning and linen business. We have the maintenance business. And then I've got like my owned HMOs, my managed HMOs, my rented. It's all in sectors. So I just kind of look at the profits of those as a group. And then if I see that we're maybe not making as much as we should, then I'll dig in and say, right, let's have a look at the individual property analysis. Or every quarter, I'll actually analyze each property and say, right, have we got a problem here? Do we need to maybe switch a strategy or whatever? So, so that's kind of how it operates once you get a bit higher, and there's more volume in the pipeline. And if you want to continue to scale. But anyway, back to the question. I kind of went on a bit of a rant there.
So from working with Ryan, what I didn't have before, so it was the confidence in the market, the fact that this guy's gone from 50 to somewhere around 100 plus properties in the space of 12 months during COVID is kind of like, well, he's obviously doing something right. So I want to be learning from that. Also, just someone to have a chat with and pass on my problems to someone else, and I can ask him any technical details I want, and he is a phone call away, or I just book a phone call with him, usually within 24 hours if I ever need to have a chat, that for me has been the gold dust. I feel like I don't use it enough, but the fact that it's there just gives me the confidence to go and strive and push ahead to get deals. So to give you an idea, over Christmas time, they announced lockdown. I went and viewed another 10 properties. That resulted in me getting another 4 deals, which have now all come online and are all live, in the first 2 months of this year. If it hadn't been for Ryan at that point, I wouldn't have had the confidence, whilst everyone else was running for the hills, to actually go and view those properties. And that's why I got so many deals across the line, I believe, is because there was little competition in the market, and a lot of my other competitors have dropped out in this area over the last 12 months. Tangible result, well, I was at 3 properties before I met Ryan. I got my 4th one, I think, about a month after we started working together. And I'm now at 8 properties live. I've got another one which is going through referencing. I've also got potentially another 8 that will come on board. They're all in various stages of maybe yes, maybe no at the moment. I'm having to focus on putting all the systems in the business now, because I've stretched myself quite a lot. So it's time to make sure the bookings are coming in. I had a feeling that March would be a bit dry for me, but that's mainly down to me because I haven't marketed the properties properly. So I've just been pushing to get more on. But thanks to Ryan with that confidence, I've done that. But now it's the time to put all the systems in place, which Ryan's got a lot of experience on, which is really great. So yeah, tangible results is basically tripling my portfolio, and the potential profit there has gone from around up 1,500, £2,000 a month, up to sort of 4/6 grand a month, and hopefully we'll see even higher from that. Coming into these summer months.
Yeah, I think what you are struggling with right now is you've hit that what I call like the critical mass point of doing it yourself, the DIY SA route, and it's like everyone does it, and I did it as well. I actually managed to push it to probably double where you're at now, and plus some before I really burnt out. But huge mistake. And I talk about this all the time, and I've been banging your head for about the last 3 months saying, get help, stop doing this. But obviously, some things you do listen to and some things you don't. But you are starting to get to that point now where you're starting to see that, okay, the operational side's like preventing you from marketing your properties properly. You haven't got them on all listings. You're probably losing revenue by not doing that. You've gone what most people will get a few, and then they'll actually go fully into operations and stop deal sourcing. You've kind of done it the other way, where you've continued deal sourcing, which is 100% the right way. But in the interim, I keep saying you need to get like a VA on board, even if it's just a few hours a week. You need to get someone to just be doing your listings for you, even if it's just a few hours a week. And that's kind of the step we need to do. Whether you bring that internally, externally, it doesn't really matter at this stage. And then that'll allow you to like now, I talk about the onboard. I've got an onboarding team. So we've got an onboarding platform in Basecamp. We've got a full process out there. So the minute that somebody signs a property up and the contract is signed in HelloSign, it goes into the onboarding. All this is automated, by the way. It goes into the onboarding team, and then it's like, right, boom, let's go. Everyone gets tagged in what their job tasks are, and then the properties get set up. You know, that's what you need behind the scenes to scale. Because I say it all the time, like, someone could dump 100 properties on me today. Like, so an investor could ring me and say, I've got 100 units in whatever location. I want to run them all on SAU. Right, great. We could implement that. I think in less than a week, we could probably get every single one of those properties onboarded, listed, photographed, live, and with cleaners ready to go. You know, I don't think there's many companies that could do that. I just don't think they would have the capability to do that, because they haven't got, it's not about being macho or being the best at anything. It's just, we've got a proven system behind the scenes, and everybody knows what they need to do when they're called to task based on the automation that comes in. So the minute that those 100 properties were signed and the Google forms are filled out, we then get the onboarding starts for every single one of them. Everyone knows what they need to do. And it's all about this zone of genius and not mixing the roles. When you start mixing the roles, and this is what you do as an entrepreneur, is you think, I've got to do all the roles. I've got to be the handyman. I've got to find the deals, and I've got to do this. And even when you start building your company out, you think costs. So you're like, well, I'll get them to do that and that and that and that because it'll save me money. It actually costs you money because they don't end up doing some of the stuff, you know, rather than just saying, that's your job. That's your job. That's your job. You know, and yes, you might have 3 wages rather than 1, but you'll get 3 better results, which will mean more money comes in the top end. So, you know, it's really important as you scale to make sure you start building these. And I wish I'd done this a lot sooner. You know, I wish I'd built these systems out a lot sooner. You know, we might be, you know, a lot further ahead than we are right now, you know, because there was definitely that downtime when, you know, I got to 21 properties and I had like 3 or 4 months where I didn't source anything because I crashed and burned. You know, and I stopped. I just couldn't do it all. You know, I hated it. I hate what I built up. You know, so had I done that at 5 properties, we might have gone a lot quicker. You know, but so yeah. So hopefully that answers the question. And you know, so effectively you've trebled your income. You know, you are at this full time now, and I don't see you're going to go from 6 to 12 grand a month fairly soon, very quickly. Once we start getting this system in behind, you know, because you've got the process nailed now for finding deals and setting them up. We just need to refine the monetary side of setups and then obviously scale it quicker. So, Alex, what's your plans long term? Are you wanting to set up a management company?
So my long-term plan is to go sailing around the world. That's why I've called my property 7 Seas Property, because I want to compete in the Formula One of sailing, which is a race called the Vendée Globe, which is sailing around the world non-stop, solo. It's a race that happens every 4 years, and they just finished one now, so the next one starts in 2024. I'm hoping to make the start line for 2028, and I need about £20 million to do that campaign. So if anyone's got any spare cash, let me know. But in the meantime, I'm going to build a property business to make that money happen. But yeah, so coming into the shorter term, over the next 12 months, I'll be taking on 100 properties. We're 2 months in now, so over the next 10 months, I'll be taking on 100 properties with Ryan's help. And that'll be a mixture of service accommodation, HMOs, BRR projects, and development. And I already have a management company set up, essentially. I'm actually going to be doing managed with my old boss from the ice. Used to make liquid nitrogen ice cream, believe it or not. So he's found a couple of deals in Windsor. So I'm going to be managing those for him because he's still got his ice cream company, which is going to potentially be taking off again come this summer. And I'm going to do an agreement with him where he can take them on and manage them himself in the future. But in the interim period, I'll be managing them for him. I'm very much.
I think management fits very nicely with a established service accommodation business, and I think you know you can do that. And I think what's great here is, like, you know, and a lot of people will be watching this and being like, 100 properties, you know, you've got 9, 10 now, you know, that's a big leap, but your mindset does not change. Like, and that's, I'm the same. I'm 1,000 properties by 40. I've said that from day dot, like, and I'll say it all the time now. And people, you know, you get the keyboard warriors who are like, oh, ha, 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 da, 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 1,000 properties, you know. It's like, yeah, like, I will do that, you know, and I think, you know, and to be honest, even if I don't do it and I get to 800, then it's still going to be not a bad gig, and it's
probably
going to
be a good journey still.
You know, it's going to be generating enough revenue. So, you know, if you set yourselves at 100 this year and you get to 75, you're still going to be, you know, probably 30, 40K a month, if not more, in terms of net revenue, you know. And, you know, that's money that a lot of people would would dream of having, you know. So, and it's revenue that comes in every single month, you know, pretty much without fail. Yes, in service accommodation, we have our fluctuations, but over the course of 12 months, the right locations, they do work. So, you know, one thing that, you know, does amaze me with yourself, which is great, and why I love working with you, is no one ever knocks you on that. You've never changed your goal on that. You know, you are aiming big, and you've always aimed big, and that's great. And you've never once said, oh, well, you know, I might just change the goal because things aren't going as well, or I've had a bit of a low month, you know. And I do see that at times. They're like, oh, well, it was 100, but it's only 80 now because something happened, you know. Like, you're pretty adamant with that. And I think when you are so focused on something like that, you do tend to get those results. So well done you for that. Right, we've only got a few minutes left because I do have a meeting with my team at 11:30, and let's go here with this last question. Did you know how to find rent-to-rent properties before you met Ryan? Is this something he has helped you with?
Yeah, so I did know before I met Ryan. I think the key thing is, I think confidence is so key in any business and so many different things in life. And what I've been able to do now is, you know, before Christmas time when lockdown came in, thanks to having, you know, several chats with Ryan, I knew to hit it hard on open rent. I knew to chat to my estate agents. You know, they've got me deals, and I sort of got them all like a little Amazon gift card for Christmas, and they really were very grateful for that. And sort of, you know, £200 in Amazon gift cards, I think, spread over 4 of them, which might sound like a lot of money, but that's then equal to another 3 or 4 deals actually in the new year. So it keeps people thinking of you. You know, they've been superstars, and that 200 quid will probably turn into the best part of £2,000 a month. You know, or 1,500 quid a month as an average across the year. So I knew how to find them, but since meeting Ryan, I'm now more confident in pushing to get more properties from those sources.
And I think this comes down to what we were talking about earlier. Like, finding them's the knowledge, confidence, the mindset, and that's all that training. Like, if you're wanting to get consultants in your business, you know, you're not buying the knowledge.
No, you
can go and get that on YouTube. You know, like, you can go and find how to find rent properties on YouTube. Just Google it now, and it'll come straight up. Absolutely. You know, that it's easy to find rent properties, and it's easy to find videos which tell you how to find rent properties. You know, so the knowledge isn't what you get when you work with people. It's, as you say, it's the confidence, it's the drive, it's the focused action, it's the structure. You know, that you get to. The way I see it is like, basically everyone's setting up a franchise in my business. You know, but then putting their own little spin on it. So I'm not as strict as like Subway, who say you must make the sandwiches like this and you must have your shop laid out like this. But effectively, everybody that wants to run, most people that come on board, we do start with Rent to SA, and you know, it seems to be the quickest way forward. Obviously, I've got BRRSA, I've got developments into SA going on at the minute. You know, so there is all that as well. And as your journey moves forward, you'll then start going, right, Ryan, I want to buy a house now for SA. How do we do that? Right, actually, I want to develop a block of flats now. How do we do that? You know, and that's what you do, because you're always working with someone who's ahead of you, and that's the main thing that I've done when choosing my consultants. Is like, my current one is an 8-figure business owner. I want to get to 8 figures. So, like, how do I do it? Well, he's done it. So I work with him for 12 months and his team. Because it is and they work with my team. This isn't just a consultancy for me, it's a consultancy for my business. Every single area: marketing, sales, delivery, operations, systems, processes, high-level CEO leadership type stuff, you know, and we can call on those areas whenever we need it, you know, and then it gets us clear. But they have done it, and they're at 8 figures. So if they can do it, all we have to do is success leaves clues. So that's all you got to do. You know, get around people that are successful, ask the right questions. They'll give you the clues to what's going on. There's plenty of clues what's going on in this business, right? In this interview right now, like how to scale a business. You know, I've given some clear guidelines on what I'm doing and how my team is laid out behind the scenes to be able to scale. You know, there's a clue in all that, i.e., you cannot do it by yourself. Don't think you can do all this by yourself. Don't think you can do this with a small team either. For me, I couldn't do it with a team in the Philippines. Didn't work for me. You know, did not work for me. UK people on my time zone that, you know, understand the market, etc., etc. I tried the Philippines route. It didn't work for me. All right. Now, I'm not saying it can't work for you. It just didn't work for me. So, that route is, touted quite a bit, and great. It might work for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody, and I personally don't think it's a scalable business model. I don't think you could, have 500, 1,000 properties with a Filipino team who work on a total different time zone, and you can't just, I don't think you need to be in offices these days, but, for me, that just doesn't work. But anyway, Alex, absolute pleasure. I am going to have to run because I do have my team meeting at 11:30 with my guys and gals. Absolute pleasure. And I'm sure everyone has had awesome value from that. If we haven't got to any of your questions, feel free to drop myself or Alex a DM if you want to ask him any specific questions.
Yep, always happy to chat.
Then, and as always, we'll see you around. I am back tonight at 6 o'clock with a load of short-term rental experts. We're streaming live again, so feel free to jump on that and ask as many questions as you can. That's going to be good. We're basically doing a clubhouse room on Facebook live, so we're all going to put our makeup on and just chat shit basically. But right, Alex, get after it, and I'll speak later, buddy.
Cheers, Ryan. Cheers, everyone.